Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. I was just writing in my commonplace notebook about something that happens to a lot of us when we try to speak in a foreign language. Has this ever happened to you? Salve, quid novi? Ego hodie, well, quomodo dicitur, Well, today I'm going to tell you about a really effective method that can help you to be a better conversationalist in your target language. I'm Luke, and this is polýMATHY. So, what is this method? Now, the idea is that when we're in those situations where we want to spontaneously talk, just have small talk with people, with friends or acquaintances in our target language, we have to actually be able to call to mind the things that we might have done recently. The problem is that if we don't have the vocabulary, or maybe we don't have a certain grammatical element or something that we practiced, we might not be able to spontaneously say exactly what we intend, and then we might stutter and be forced to say, oh, how do you say this? Now, that's okay sometimes, but we don't necessarily want that in order to be fluent speakers. So the method I'm going to tell you about addresses this problem of being unable to spontaneously talk about basic common things that we might have done during the day. Now, this problem happens because we might not have the vocabulary, or we might not have the exact grammatical or idiomatic way of phrasing something that we could know if we had the chance to take our time and write it down. And I have had this problem a lot lately, trying to get better at speaking ancient Greek. Now, ancient Greek has a lot of issues with it because there aren't a lot of people that you can speak with, which is different from Latin, but there are a lot more speakers that one can find and actually converse with. And another issue is that when I started speaking Latin, I was already fluent in Italian. So I was able to skill transfer a lot of my Italian conversational ability into Latin. And I don't know modern Greek well enough to be able to do that with ancient Greek. And because of that, I've often struggled trying to converse. And if you're in a situation, in my case, I don't have a lot of conversation partners for ancient Greek. And in your case, whatever language you're learning, if you're not in the country, if you're not with other people who actually speak that target language of yours very well, then you may be forced to talk to just nobody. Now, how can you do that with just this? This is just my commonplace notebook, and recently, the past few months, I've been writing more and more frequently, just journal entries essentially, just things that I might have been doing that day. For example, Temeron ten tainian ten perites, ephemeridos paraskeoasas, pros ton kepon ton koinon, proselthon hos gymnasamenos. So that's just a regular thing that I often do, but because I phrase it in this way, which is a little bit more complex than I might otherwise do, I am exercising participles and aorist and things that are a little bit more complicated for speaking ancient Greek than I might spontaneously do speaking another language, like say Italian. And because of that, I now have that idea, I've practiced it. So that's all good. So here's the first step. On any given day, I write down the things that I did. And the stuff that I write about is stuff that I might want to talk about with an acquaintance or friend or somebody, whoever that I might encounter who might actually be able to speak ancient Greek. That way, I have aorists ready, participles, a lot of things that I'm not used to using, say, in English or Italian, that are ready to go. Because that's really how language is. It's a set of phrases more than it's a set of vocabulary or grammatical elements that are ready to go in our heads, and we just sort of plug and play. So having something like this with the quotidian things that I do ready to go is excellent. The problem is then, well, how do I actually turn something like this into conversational ability? Well, first I write it out, and I probably might be mumbling to myself, so I get some auditory. But then I could read it again aloud, and that's helpful. But something I really like to do is to record it. So here I'll show you. So now I'm making this audio recording of what I wrote. Metadeten me sembrian proston koi non kepon proseltomen ego kai he nymphemu opos tu seki ornithas nemomen. Chilonas peristeras de kai netas as malaphilomen parato telmati heoracamen. Katatoikos netia duo hamalista agapomen poistisi onomata thetis kai perleus tedocamen idomen en to choro auton hu io thasi menin. Hemen thetis kathe mene hemas theato Hodepeleus ede ekatheude tu rinku yupote pteruki ki menu. So now I have this voice memo. Then what I like to do is to listen to it while reading the same text that I wrote. Often I find by doing this, I find little errors I might have made, or I might make a note, oh, I should maybe use a different word, that kind of thing. So it helps me immediately improve on something. So if I were in an actual conversation, I might be trying to struggle going through that process of thinking of the right vocabulary and getting the grammar right, and it would be much less elegant, probably filled with a lot of stuttering. But now this way, I've refined and improved exactly what I wanted to say. I might even re-record it again if I didn't like how I recorded it the first time. Because then what I like to do is to listen to it while maybe walking or working out, like I was talking about earlier in this entry, and even before I go to sleep. And that way I listen to that audio recording and I think about those phrases that I use, and I try to remember them, or maybe I think about, oh yeah, maybe after I finish this journal entry, I did more stuff during the day, and I think about, in my mind, how I would say that in ancient Greek in this case. So you can do that too. Now, in this method, I'm taking for granted that you can already construct basic sentences in your target language. But if you don't know where to start and you want a great tool to help accelerate your language learning, then I'd like to recommend Busuu. Busuu reached out to me because they believe that their language learning courses on their app are an excellent complement to a lot of the ideas and methods that I recommend on this channel.
Busuu has complete courses that take you from zero knowledge of your target language to intermediate level comprehension. If you're brand new to the language, you're an A1 beginner. A2 is upper beginner, B1 is lower intermediate, and B2 is upper intermediate. This is the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, or CEFR. What's great is, if you're not an absolute beginner, you can test out of A1 or A2 and start with the level that is most appropriate for you, and the Busuu app will help you figure that out. There are courses for French, Italian, German, Polish, Korean, Russian, Japanese, Spanish, Arabic, Dutch, Turkish, Chinese, and Portuguese, which are stupendous due to their input-based approach, filled with audio, images, spaced repetition, and helpful exercises. One of the best things about Busuu, though, is that you can get feedback from other users on the platform who natively speak your target language. Sign up for Busuu's 7-day free trial with the link in the description.
So as you acquire vocabulary and grammar using Busuu or however you're learning the language, apply that and write journal entries using some of what you've learned. It's great to stay concentrated on those. It's also good since you have the opportunity to stretch beyond your normal limitations. You write the journal entry, then you record it, and then you listen to it. The idea is that this covers the 4 language learning disciplines: writing, reading, listening, and speaking. You get all of it, and you start to internalize, maybe even start to memorize certain stock phrases that you would use in your own life. Like for myself, you heard before, I go and work out in the park. Now that I know how to say that, I've written it down, I can just spit that out in ancient Greek whenever I need. So give this a try for a few weeks and see if it helps improve your ability to converse in your target language, and let me know in the comments below. Thanks again to Busuu for supporting the video, and especially thanks to each and every one of my Patreon supporters. Walete kai hygiainete. Hodepeleus ede ekatheude. Hodepeleus ede ekatheude. It's okay. Hodepeleus ede ekatheude. Hodepeleus ede. Okay. And now I have this voice memo. Now, what I like to do is listen to it immediately after and reread the... So, now I have this voice memo. Now what I like... Wait.